And then we had some discussion about Davison from 11th to 12th. And if you remember, Shane kind of commented about he would prefer us not doing that stretch until it gets rebuilt.
That was the issue with the road overlay.
Yeah.
About 2 inches.
Yeah. And we could, and I have some pictures, I'll show you kind of what it looks like. So here is Langdon and 9th going to the north. You can see there's sidewalk on the east side, but on the west side, no sidewalk on the east side. This is going up a block, so now we're up at 10th. No sidewalk on the east side. And then this is on the west side. This is just a side picture over on the west side. And then this is looking to the north on the west side, up towards 11th Street.
But Terry, if we're going to wait until the street is done, there's no reason to get people worked up about it by having it on the plan.
I looked at that street today, Mel, and I don't know when Shane thought that street would get done, but that street's actually in fairly decent shape. And if it,
Langdon wasn't one of them, it was the one.
Davison.
And we'll move to that one.
Yeah.
Here's Davison.
And as,
Yeah, and 11.
the top of curb probably won't change much. I had some discussion with a neighbor today that it flows north to south. Well, we still have to match a curb on the north side running east-west. And we still have to match a curb on the south side running east-west. So the top of curb grades probably won't change much. And I don't care if you do it now or this year or ever. But I don't think future construction is much of an issue.
So Dennis Olson is here, he's at the back of the room, he lives there. Do you want to come up, Dennis, and talk to us a little bit about that? I know he's excited about this.
Go ahead.
But he was saying that there are some drainage problems about, that we need to deal with before we can do that. So do you want to kind of describe what you're talking about?
It's a pretty good picture. Yeah, the water does not want to drain on that street. And years ago, I called the engineer and he came down and he said, there's nothing we can really do until we change the grade and everything on the street. Well, my neighbor across the street, the water runs right in his driveway because it's gotten higher and higher and things are settling. And it's kind of a disaster.
And I'd like to watch it for a few rains too, which will probably take a couple of years. So it's,
I'll tell you what, Tim, if we get a half inch, you come over and you'll see what's going on, because that's about all it takes.
there are several yards which are below the curb and gutter, which isn't, the city doesn't go fix yards, but it can be an issue, so.
So can we go ahead and just take this Davison from 11th to 12th, like Mel said, we just take it off?
Yeah, and that's, I know we've been asked that question this week, but we really wanted the sidewalk committee to do that. I don't feel that we should change anything, but you're sure welcome to do that.
We change it now?
Yeah.
Motion to go ahead and just delete Davison from 11th to 12th.
Second.
Yeah, with the understanding that when the street's done, we'll put it back on.
Yeah. Whenever the street is done.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you, gentlemen,
Pretty painless,
ladies.
right?
So next we'll move over to Nindy, over by the college. So this is the next area that's also on the plan. So the plan would be to do Nindy from Miller all the way over to University, and to also do Minnesota from Nindy up to McCabe.
Terry, while you're there, and I'm not arguing with this, but what sense does it make to do this and then we're leaving these open? Is there a rhyme or reason to that?
I guess
Money, we don't have the money to do it right now?
possibly, and to try to, I guess with you eliminating, the one on Davidson, we could probably add another block or 2 blocks.
But don't we have to give them a year notice to?
Yeah. Well, see, the thing that causes my phone to ring is when Steve on his side of the street doesn't have to do it, and I have to do it on my side of the street. It just drives people right up the wall.
Actually,
And it's a 1-year difference, then it's okay. But
Right.
if you do one, and then they'll come back to the other side for,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like pick on my side.
Right. I mean, if you can say, well, we're doing, you know, we're doing my side of the street this year and Steve's side of the street next year, that's one thing, but a lot of times we come in and do it and then,
we have, so this would be in 2016 next year. This stretch here going all the way down towards Minnesota is in 2019. This stretch here over on Mitchell Boulevard is not part of the plan right now. But it is a part of our 5-year plan to go on South Minnesota. So we can look at University Boulevard, can look at Mitchell Boulevard to go on another year after the 5-year plan, unless you want to modify the 5-year plan.
well, if we're not doing Mitchell Boulevard at all, that's one thing, but. You understand what I'm
Yep.
saying? But if you're doing part of it and you're not doing another part of it, then.
Correct, and that's what we're not. We're not doing anything on Mitchell Boulevard. We're trying to get some of these areas that have a partial sidewalk, like here, has a partial sidewalk, but then nothing going on. So that's why we're doing all of this, going all the way down to Norway, all in 2019.
So on the tip there, was that new construction or what?
This was new construction when we did this stretch last year. So that way we could have a handicap ramp here, a little stretch of sidewalk, handicap ramp here, and a crossing right here.
That's another thing that drives people crazy.
Is what?
That's another thing that drives people crazy, when they have a little stretch of sidewalk and, you know, it doesn't go anywhere.
So what do you want to work in that area more on if there is a, school there?
Right.
College in there, that'll be way over there.
And the other side is Mr. Olson, the mayor and I talked to Mr. Olson today, and he started mentioning how many new constructions didn't have sidewalk, and I think most of them actually do, but people are looking, and they expect new constructions to have new sidewalks.
So with us losing the Davison with our somewhat, I wouldn't say rule, but how we want to try to get people to notice, we really can't add anything on for next year. Remove the funding, might not probably be somewhat correct with that.
Would it be able to pick up a little more hazardous?
Well,
Maybe that's where we
my
go.
thought was, we still have about 70 ramps that are required by the feds in order to install in areas that we don't have ramps. So my plan was to use some of that money and get us caught up on the ramps that we're required to by federal highways.
Okay.
And I remember the first sidewalk meeting 25 years ago, this isn't, nothing is instant in this job or this business. It's a perennial headache.
Will that
The-
get you caught up with money-wise?
It won't get me caught up, but it'll help.
The
How many
other,
ramps do you do a year? If you got 7.
Say possibly a dozen. We kind of mix them in with hazardous ramps or ramps for a new sidewalk, or areas that we have to do an overlay. We add a ramp in there before we do a asphalt
Of
overlay.
course, we do all the ramps on this stuff. So
Yeah.
that in addition to
So
this.
we got an extra 6 years just for ramps.
Right. Right.
the other thing too, Terry, and I think you knock them out whenever you can, is the approaches to alleys. There's areas, I know when we do the sidewalk, we do the, I'm gonna call it the approach from the
We do that.
gutter up to the sidewalk, but there is some areas that I've been before where there is a sidewalk, but there's that little 5 feet of gravel yet, which
Yeah.
obviously wears into a rut and stuff like that. So I think keep that eye out open for that too, if you're in those areas, to knock out a little odds and ends once in a while. I know we got a lot on our plate, but I think that's another thing that we gotta try to keep on slowly knocking out, as those approaches to alleys also, I think are
We
nice.
do that at the same time we
concreted.
do sidewalks, and we do it at the same time we do an overlay.
Yep.
So,
Okay, perfect.
all right, so far, this last year, these people installed their sidewalk, and these people here already installed their sidewalk. because they wanted to get ahead of it. So these people have already installed their sidewalk up to date, and this property here has already installed their sidewalk.
So you
So they will
might
need-
get some more in there that,
What?
that go north and south, what Mel was talking earlier, they might come in and say, I wanna do ours too.
You never know. I think it probably won't happen until they get a notice, but there's been talk, when we've been out there, different people have approached us about that area, and I just tell them it's coming. It's not on a plan right now, but it's coming.
So the cost that we had into there then is gonna save us for next year?
We didn't have any cost in it.
It's assessed cost.
Yeah, it's all, well, these people hired their own contractors, so then the city didn't partake in any of the
Right,
costs.
but if we put it in, it would be an assessed cost, so
Yeah.
it's no hard cost to the
Right.
city.
We had costs in these ramps,
Right.
because that would be the city's costs, and we used our sidewalk money that we had budgeted for those corners. But that'll be less money we would need to use for this year, so.
How many ramps did we get done last year? We didn't do any sidewalks here, right?
No, but it'd be overlays, these couple ramps, hazardous sidewalk, those. Okay, then the other area we got for next year would be Raleigh, from Havens all the way down to Norway. Dr. Muskimmin's Dental Care Center, they did theirs already, and they were the only one on that stretch that did theirs ahead of time. So that is
16.
next year also, 16. We did it around the parks, and then I think this was 2 years ago, we did sidewalk on the east side of Norway, and then down to, down on Norway, along the trailer park. And then there's a new house construction that was built here. They put in sidewalk as part of their new house construction, so we do have a couple areas that, with this completion, we'll be able to connect sidewalks together. And it'll be a core down to the new Wesleyan Wellness Center and over to the schools.
I'm sorry, I'm getting my bearings, you said the east side of Norway, that never makes sense.
We did this a couple years ago. This was the east side of Raleigh down to Norway.
Oh, down to, okay, I see.
Looks like we don't got a lot of east to west streets from the trailer court area.
No, and this is on a
There,
plan.
you gotta walk on the road. to get
That's
it.
on that plan.
This is on 2019
Okay.
to go both sides all the way to Burr Street.
I think within the trailer park are private roads, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I think, this is Main Street, which is still a dedicated road, but a majority of these are correct. It's all private roads. Now, DOT is looking at rebuilding Burr Street in 2018, 19, I think. So then we were gonna come in with new sidewalk in 19 and connect to the corridor sidewalk that'll be installed as part of Burr Street. So you'll have sidewalks and bike trails on Burr Street, and then in 19, we're planning on going along and putting in sidewalk on Norway. So any questions on 2016 project? So we'll remove Davison, and then we'll continue with all the other areas.
And they'll have a hearing.
They'll have a public hearing after the holidays. They'll all get a notice. They'll have their chance to speak up front, and you guys will have your chance to vote. Okay? Okay, so, next area is West Ash. So this is 2017 project. So West Ash from the bypass to Anderson. So this is this area right here that's in green. From here all the way over to Anderson, which is right here. And then we'll do this one area on the west side of Anderson that'll connect to all the existing sidewalks that we did a couple years ago. And then we'll move over to Edgerton and do both sides of Edgerton up to the park. And then we'll do the west side of Edgerton, and that'll fill in all the sidewalks for there. And then we'll come down here and do Burns, which is right here. One block of Burns that only has sidewalk on one lot, but then they have connecting sidewalks at both east-west corridors. Okay? And then let's move up to 2018. We'll have 7th from Edgerton to Iowa. We've had a fair amount of requests in this area because of the middle school, and because there's no cross-street sidewalks that are connecting to the middle school. So what we did is we came in and added sidewalk on 7th here and here. Then we added sidewalk on Iowa from here to there, and then over on Montana for these 4 blocks. And then we also added sidewalk here and these 3 blocks here. So you'll connect still the middle school, the hockey arena, Cadwell Park, and the park up here.
Is there a sidewalk on our park on the outside there?
There's a steep embankment here, so we moved the sidewalk in, talking to Dusty and Chuck at the time, to put it on the outside of that field, which connects
Okay.
that park on both sides.
So that's considered our
Yeah.
sidewalk paper.
Yeah. Okay, 2019.
Terry, I got one question. What if somebody, that we do a sidewalk, they can do it, and they have to have a retaining wall? How does the city of Mitchell pay for retaining
This-
walls for them, or what kind of cost?
The city pays for the retaining wall.
What,
We pay for
we
the,
can have granite, or we can?
no, we show them, we get the block
Just
from
his wall.
ours. And we don't do the cheap block, we do the middle range, because the cheap block, what we ran into, it's too weak and it'll tip over, or it just doesn't hold together after years. So we try to go with the middle of the range block. We pay for the block and we pay for the labor to put in that sidewalk. And that's part of miscellaneous expenses. So retaining wall, fixing sprinkler system. We don't do any seeding or replace trees or landscape. And then if-
Dusty has had programs where you can get free.
You could get a tree for half price or a percentage off.
So you must have something per square foot, or that you estimate? Or what?
I estimate so much per lineal foot, and then just kind of ballpark it, and then I don't know really until we're gonna get in there and start working. Sometimes we could get away with regrading the lot, which is what we prefer to do, but in some cases, you're not gonna be able to regrade the lot.
I've had some people ask me.
Yeah.
And we've thrown streets out that are just too steep, and I think it was Cedar and Birch, south of Dry Run Creek, just didn't lend itself to sidewalk very well.
Not a Danny.
Okay, this area is gonna be hard to read because the color that I have on here is brown, and the aerial is brown. So, but I'll explain the areas. We're going from Norway, from Raleigh to Burr. So
Oh, yeah.
from here, Raleigh to Burr, like we had just talked about before. Andrews from McGovern to Raleigh. So up here, this is Andrews. So we're going from here all the way to there. So connecting Dakota Wesleyan with the parks. South Minnesota from Norway to Nindy. So that's that area we were just talking about. So that would be, South Minnesota is this stretch right in through here. That's that area that Mel, you were just talking about. So that's this area right here.
Just crazy.
Oh, and then Mitchell Boulevard from University to McCabe. So Mitchell Boulevard would be this stretch from University. Okay, right here. So that would be this stretch here. Up here. So this is University right here. So from there going around to here. And then Foss Place from Havens to McCabe. So that's this stretch right here. So we'll get those areas all connected in that year. And then after that, we didn't extend it all the way down to here, but that could be as a future plan.
Jerry, we were talking before the meeting about how, previous councils kind of dropped the ball with new construction. What are we doing to stay on top of new construction and having people put those sidewalks in as they go?
when we have a building permit, we go around and check just to make sure that they put it in. If they don't put it in, we keep reminding them. And we tell them if you continue not to put it in, then we will add you to the special assessment process. Now, there are some that we've talked about numerous times that have not put it in after that codified law went in place. And we kind of took the thought of we'll wait and look at that area and fill it all in at one time.
I feel like they should be penalized if they're not
Oh,
following
me too.
the law.
Our only recourse under law is state law, and that would be to add them to the assessment and have them part of the hearing and put it in the next year.
That's what I was gonna say, is we can take a look at it, and if they don't put it into it in the first year, then we'll, especially like if we pull Davidson off, because when you're on for next year. And just make it known that's what's gonna happen.
Well, that's what I hear from most of the residents out
Yeah.
there. We don't want to put the sidewalks in, but what about the people that build homes after 1987? They get off the hook.
That's what I hear when I'm out in the street
And
also.
I hear it a lot, Terry, and
I guess my preference would be to do what has been suggested here, that when we find those, they just get added to, if we find one, then they get added this year, and if we find one after, they get added.
Okay.
And, I do have some sympathy, we have this all the time, where people have moved into town and they really had nothing to do with the
Right.
previous. And I do have some sympathy for that, but, maybe they have a course of action against the previous owner or something, but it really causes problems when, as Danny says, people are being asked to put in sidewalk and somebody else has had a free ride for 14 years or whatever it is.
Terry, have you done a breakdown of
Yeah.
areas that,
You know,
so we can go full?
we could definitely look at that, and we could try to do it in a couple years, or try to do it all in 1 year. Might be pushing it.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously the contractors who are building these homes know that that is the rule. I mean, isn't there any recourse that we have towards those people that are just disregarding this ordinance that we have?
Well, the problem really right now is we don't have an issue right now.
Oh,
We had an issue before, but right now we're staying on top of it, and people know that when you build a new house, you need to put in sidewalk.
yeah, and that's happening.
Yeah,
We're not letting this
right. And like Tim said, the only way we could force them to do it is special assessment process.
Can you back that up so we can see the yellow in the large area?
While you're doing that, one of the best things we ever did was put city sidewalk around city property, and that shut a lot of people up.
25 years ago, Mitchell had very little sidewalk. They had bits and pieces here and there, and I think it's always nice to stand back and take a look at where we've come. And I think Mitchell is almost fully sidewalked. Now you can walk almost anywhere on sidewalk. The one thing I'd like to tell you that you don't know probably is that we had a pre-construction meeting today on the pedestrian bridge across the Mud Creek, which means they are going to start construction, according to them. They're also tearing down Coughlin Alumni Stadium this week, but they thought that would only take a week, which boggled my mind. They plan to start in the next week or so on piling and abutments, and should be done. The completion date is June, but I think they'll be done before then.
They'll work on it through the winter.
And here's that location. Knowles Dragline, Sioux Falls.
That's great news. People like to see that.
Okay, so going back to those building permit ones, do you want to split them up in a couple years?
Yeah.
Okay,
That?
split them up in a couple years?
Yeah. Because I think that's a valid point. Why am I being forced to put in sidewalk when so-and-so built their house in 1988 and they still don't have it?
we will take a look at what we could try to still fit into the budget for what we have budgeted, and then try to keep within that area with the new sidewalk areas, and then we'll try to add more in the next couple years after that. But we'll add
Yes.
some.
Just stay with what you got now for planning, see if you can filter a few more of the,
Yeah, we'll see
New
what
construction
we
ones.
got, plus we'll add a couple for this coming hearing after the holidays. And then we'll add more the next couple years down the road.
and once again, when you guys have it figured out of how much you have, I mean, I think 2 years is good, but I mean, if it's gotta take 3 or 4, I think showing the public at least we're trying to move forward and getting that taken care of will be something way better than what we're doing now, which is absolutely nothing, so. If it ends up mapping it out and, wow, we need 4 years to get this done, I think that still shows the public we're catching up for you,
Not
so.
only that, like when we went into the area around going to Westland, all of a sudden we've got 3 or 4 homeowners that did it this year because when's the cheapest time to do it is today, because it's not gonna get more, less expensive.
Yep.
So once we show that we are out there, you've got a home that's built, what is it, 93, whatever the date is, that maybe there'll be a few of them that will start doing it on their own.
Yeah, sidewalk started in 90, but the law about putting it in when you build a new home was later than that, so you may be close.
All right, and then your 2020,
FYI, we're coming.
first from Marshall to Tiger, and this is a key stretch. This will connect basically the woods, Wild Oak, and that whole area. So, and this is that area we put new curb and gutter on last year.
Yeah.
And some people added sidewalks and stuff like that, and we see a fair amount of people walking in the street there.
Yeah, that is really dangerous, because there is a lot of people walking down that road.
Yeah, and I think in Wild Oak, if you're next to a tee box or a green, which is in the county, I'm not sure we have any way to put that in.
Isn't that on first though, Terry?
This is on First.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about inside the golf courses.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have that, but I don't think we'll do that.
Then we're going Marshall from First to Fifth, so this stretch right here. Fourth from Marshall to Wallace, so actually the homeowner right here put his in this year. So we'll have some more to connect those together, and then Marshall will be connected through. Second from Foster to Calhoun, so that's this stretch here. And then Kittredge from Fourth to Fifth, so up by the hospital. All right, with that, does anybody else have anything else for Sidewalk Committee? With that, a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We will call the public properties meeting to order. We have one item on the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Desher, seconded by Allen. Any additions to the agenda? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The agenda is approved. We have one item on the agenda, and I don't know if Stephanie sent this out to everybody, but there are letters on the desk here about, yeah, it's up there as well.
Got it.
Can you pop the picture up there?
Yep.
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. This is what we're talking about right here. This light pole right there. And the request is that we move that somewhere. And before we talk about that, I guess, Terry, I would ask you, I don't know if we're so inclined to do so, but if we were so inclined to do so, is it possible to move it, and where would it go?
Well, we've already moved it once.
But that was because they didn't have a place to begin with.
But there are only two places for it. And let me say that I kind of understand. We have a fixture with a bulb below it which radiates out light in all directions. I know that Terry has talked to Northwestern Public Service. Jamie, who used to be in charge of the lighting, is no more, I don't believe, but trying to find a solution. The best one I've seen in town, and I've talked to Dave Tronis about, is there's an LED fixture at the exit of their parking lot at Toshiba which is flat, and all the lights are hidden up inside the fixture. And I need to look at that at dark, probably tonight on the way home. But I believe that can't possibly shine light out radially. It's gotta go down. And if we can figure out who put that in and what it costs, we can come back with a cost of that and then decide if the property owners pay that, which is typical, or if you're willing to pay that, or what. That's the best fixture I've seen, I think, so far.
Is it shorter, did you say?
No, I think it's LED. Well, I know it's LED, but it's flat as can be, where the ones we have all over town have a glass bulb below. This doesn't. All the lights are LED, and they're up in the flat, so they must all shine down. You can't see them from the side, and that might be a good one.
We want a greater light shining down in the parking lot,
Right.
and cups people want.
Oh, okay.
Be arranged all.
Was that?
Steve Ballmark.
Well, one of the concerns, according to the letter, is that it's too high as it is.
You know, if there's a dangerous intersection in this city, it's this one. You're coming over that hill, whether you're in a bus or a truck, and I've seen buses. You come over that hill, and if you're sleepy, if you're drunk, which happens, if you miss that intersection, you're in the lake. It's one that needs to be lit. I think public service puts these in by the lumens on the ground. We don't put them in ourselves. We hire public service, and then we rent the pole and the fixture, so it's got to have the lighting on the ground.
Can you go back to the picture for a minute? Okay. All those trees, do you see all those trees there? Is that on city property?
No, that'd be
Is that on their property?
on their property.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we were talking about before the meeting was, you know, those trees are gonna grow, and unless they're gonna pull those trees out, that view's gonna be gone here pretty quick anyway. But maybe they're gonna pull those trees out.
I think it's these trees right here.
Lonnie Weiss is here, he's their adopted son.
What trees are across the road on the lake?
Answer any questions if
I
they
know
want.
there's trees growing up.
The light is right here, right now.
Honey, come on up.
That's the corner that it's
Yeah.
on right now.
The concern too is lowering the light will mean less spread.
Were you here for all of this?
I was,
Okay,
yes.
feel free to weigh in here.
Well, just a little bit of background on the folks that are building the house. They are from Arizona, and they drove around the Midwest looking for a place to build a new home and to move to. They wanted to move to the Midwest. And so they found this lot on Lake Mitchell, and they loved the city. And so they purchased the lot, and, you know, I'm helping them design the house, and we oriented the house to face right down the lake, obviously, and they're up on this knoll, which you're probably familiar with, so it's a high spot. So we didn't know anything about the street light at the time, and so just before they started to build the house, up goes the street light, right in the absolute center of their view. And so they're concerned about that, obviously, because they're up on top of the hill and the light bulb is, as you can see from the picture, it really doesn't show as clearly in the picture as it is at night. It's directly out their view. And so it, you know, basically eliminates a view just from the glow of the light. They're just hoping that some possible resolution could be found that would either lower the light or some way keep the light from being so glaring. I mean, it's obviously in the daytime, it's still there too, but it's worse at night, obviously, when the bulb is out, because it's not a restricted bulb. It's just one that shoots out. So I don't know. I'm just helping them build the house. They don't know anyone in Mitchell. They had to go to California because her mother is ill. And so I'm just come to answer any questions if I can and help them try to resolve whatever we can come up with.
Terry, question, you said that this is the second time you moved in?
Yeah.
Why did we move it to this location from the other location?
First time when we installed it, we spotted it on the other side, which is based off the layout that I had put together. And then we got the request from the property owners to try to move it.
Well-
So then we moved it across the street.
According to the property owners, and I'm not involved, but, I mean, I don't know what their dealings were, but they said, they told them that it was in the wrong place, not according to plan on the first installation, and they moved it to where they were supposed to move it, but it really just moves it in, you know, when you're back away from it, it didn't really move it. It's like across the street, so it's still directly in front of their view, no matter which location it is. So it really didn't matter which location it's in. It's more of a matter of the height of it being up to the, right to the windows of the house. So I don't know. There's,
Stephanie wants to come in here and say a word here.
It was my understanding that where the light pole was first, Stephanie Elwine, City Administrator for the City of Mitchell. It was my understanding that where it was first installed was not according to the directions that we gave to Northwestern Public Service. The question came in when Shane Crow was still here. I believe they talked to Terry as well, and they said that it did not, where Northwestern installed it was not where the city had located it, which is why it was moved. It was moved at no cost to the city.
I'm not on the committee, but refresh my memory, when we go way back of we selected a certain area that was not very lit. We had, was it a resident that came forth and said? Or
No.
we just identified some areas that
Yeah.
looked to be at least not real safe.
Right,
So we were
Dick
gonna
Goodwin
attempt
and
to
I,
try to,
yeah.
and then, because we didn't take streetlights all the way to the east, we kind of cut it off where that residential area is, if I remember right.
Yep.
And then, is this the furthest light that we put into the west, or
Correct.
there is? Okay.
Well, and this is at an intersection, right?
This is an intersection, so we light up intersections and curves in the street. So this is at an intersection, that's why we lit it up.
So is it possible to make it use the LED lights that have a direct down and lower that pole with that?
We have tried to connect with Northwestern, and I think they've been busy, or we've been busy at different times, so we haven't connected, but I know that Terry's talked to him a couple of times. We just need to connect with Northwestern and get it right.
I guess your comment when we started out, Tim, you said that's a really big safety hazard. You know, that's I guess what concerns me the most. What's the convenience versus the safety hazard? We need to figure out.
Well, that's why I'm saying, let's see if we can do one of those LED lights that still illuminates the intersection, but at a lower, just place it at a lower level. So, because that was one of their options was to have that lowered. If it was
Lonnie, have you seen the one that they're talking about at Toshiba?
excuse me?
The light that they're.
No, but I understand what Tim is suggesting, and I think that would definitely help. If we could get the combination of a little lower and that, it would be a perfect solution. And they're not saying not to put a light, because they understand what you're trying to do with the safety, although it's probably been that way for a long time, but it is getting more developed. So, and I don't know if there's ever been an accident there or any problem, which I don't think there probably has. But if we could lower that thing.
And we've never had 100 houses there before.
No, I'm saying it's getting more developed, so they're not arguing with that. They're not arguing with anything, they're just hoping there's some kind of resolution to not have it in their, directly in their view. So, I don't know, maybe if we can consider talking with them and seeing if we can find a different light or lowering it a little, it would be great.
Call you.
What?
Want me to ask you to call one of you guys?
Yeah,
I
you
think
call
we
me.
just table this until they come up with a solution.
Yeah, we actually
One-
drove around until I saw that light, and we went back and looked at it, and I looked at it today several times. It just looks
Yeah.
right.
I would table it.
One-
I move
one-
table. Sorry.
No, go ahead, second, somebody. I'm not on the committee, so.
Second.
Okay, before we vote on that, this is a little irregular, but I just want to get a sense from the committee. My sense is there's no thought to moving it. The pole's gonna stay. It's just the question of what kind of light and how tall it is.
That's right.
Okay?
Mel, can I add one thing here quick? Not on the committee at all either, but a couple things I do throw out the fact that if we do this here, and I'm not saying there's other areas in town that we're going to have this sort of kind of, I'm sitting up higher, the light pole is lower on the road, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere else in this town, so let's just be careful on what we do. You know, you do it once, you're going to do it for everybody else that wants to complain about this exact same thing. But I know we need a light at that intersection for safety, there's no doubt about it. I live out by the lake area, and it is, anytime we get out in the lake area in certain areas, a lot of desolate areas that we need to have more light on, and this is just one because of the housing that went out there. But if the lowering is an option to do that, but we lose the radius of the light, no doubt about it, maybe the thoughts of putting two lights at the intersection, one at each side where the old one was at, that you just moved over to the other side to do another one. You bring them both down, but you get the radius to cover that whole intersection then by bringing them both down. I'm not trying to spend more money, I'm not trying to put more things out there, but if the committee is open to lowering the light and satisfying that, maybe another light needs to be there to get the light that we need in the intersection, if that makes sense.
I would,
Just food for thought.
excuse me, I just think though that if you lowered the light, it would still light the stop sign and the safety to be able to see. I mean, I don't know if you have to light all the way across the road, up the hill in order to see the intersection, but I don't know. I'm just
We have
thinking
three
out
of
loud.
us engineers in town that will help us.
Right.
Sure, exactly.
Well, we have a motion to table. You have a sense of what we're looking at. We want to try to be accommodating if we can, but public safety is paramount, so whatever that comes.
I would caution people on if this light's gonna cost more than a regular light to put
Oh,
installed,
well.
then that should be a burden of somebody else other than.
Right, that'll be the next
I just
discussion.
want to caution on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
my own personal feeling is that this will be the property owner's problem. But we'll discuss that when the solution may be to do nothing. And we don't know what that is now. But we do have a motion to table.
I, just one
Go
more
ahead.
thing. I have spoken to people who wanted a more decorative light on their property that they paid for it themselves. One
This
example
really-
is out in your neighborhood, the Logans. They put up their own light and they wanted something that was a little more decorative than the ones that we do.
I'm sure they would consider anything. It's really not on their property. It's actually across the road on the other side on Macheski's property, but
But there are several neighborhoods with decorative lighting in the neighborhoods that have paid for that, and actually the developer has paid for that.
right, so I don't know how in this case, there is none, so,
Well, and again, we'll have this discussion, but
right.
as far as I'm concerned, that light is fine. And they're looking for some accommodation from the city. And so to
Well-
expect that the city would then pay for a personal accommodation, I'm not sure is reasonable. But we'll have that discussion when the solutions come back. We have a motion to table. Time's getting away from us. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else for the good of the cause?
Thank you.
If not, then a motion to adjourn is in order.
Second.
Moved by Cronus, seconded by Allen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
I'd like to call the Traffic Commission to order. Request for a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have one item of business on the agenda. Any additions to the agenda? Okay. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The one item we do have is a request from the Christmas at the Palace Committee to close the 600 block of North Main Street to include no parking in this area on November 23rd, 2015, from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. for the Christmas at the Palace event. This is an event that we've done in the past. We've had no issues concerning having that closed in the parking district.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Request a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second. And we are adjourned.